Hello again. In this video, we begin talking about survey research and why we want to learn about survey research. Well, surveys are all around us. Many aspects of our lives are shaped by the results of surveys, all kinds of surveys. Political polls, surveys conducted by the census, surveys conducted by private firms, surveys conducted for market research purposes that are designed to gather information about what we want factories and firms to produce, etc. And chances are that everybody watching this video has participated in a survey. Either they've been approached by a person doing a survey at the store, they've received a questionnaire in the mail, or probably you've received it by email or in social media, etc. They're all around us. And many of you have probably also designed your own surveys in your agencies, in your internships, or in any other activity that requires you to gather information from a group of people. So, as a major here at CSUMB, we decided to survey the agencies that mentor our students in 2014. And we asked them, what type of methods do you use to evaluate your work? Well, the most common method that they reported using was collecting surveys. About 80% did that. So, because we are training you to go out and serve in these agencies, we think that survey methods are very important, and the skills to conduct and create effective survey research are not that simple. So we wanna train you on those before you go out there and do your own surveys. We want you to get familiar with the methods to create a sound survey questionnaire, methods to create, to sample, and so that you can make inferences about a sample to a population. And we want you to be trained in the analysis of survey data. A lot of the agencies collect surveys, but they don't have the capacity to analyze them after they collect the surveys. So we want to train you on those. So why is our survey method so common, or why are surveys so common out there? Well, survey methods have a lot of pros. The biggest one, they are very economical. They are useful in describing the characteristics of a large population. They make large samples feasible. They're very efficient, as opposed to other methods. Let's say we're going to interview people face to face. Those interviews will take time. They're very expensive, as opposed to just sending a standardized questionnaire to a large sample. Also, when people received surveys in the mail, that can protect anonymity better than interviews face to face or observation. So it allows for less biased responses, right? People are more likely to answer truthfully if they are just writing their answer in a paper and they're sure that they cannot be traced, or that answer cannot be traced back to them. And also, when we have a standardized questionnaire, we know that the questions are always asked in the same way to everybody, and so they are somewhat more reliable than other methods. Some of the drawbacks of questionnaire research, though, and one of the biggest ones, is that it cannot deal with the context of social life. It provides only a snapshot. It is a question that is isolated from pretty much from reality. The respondent is asked to provide a response of a specific attitude or a specific behavior or or some factual information, but we are not learning anything about the context of that response. Also, it is a snapshot of what the respondent is thinking in that moment where the survey is being conducted. We don't understand anything else. We don't understand if the respondent is going to change their mind or his or her mind minutes after the survey. Also, it is pretty inflexible because questionnaires tend to be standardized, same for everybody. They have to be asked in the same way. The questions have to be asked in the same way. So if some people don't understand the question correctly, you cannot rephrase that question. The question is the question, and it's very inflexible. You cannot tweak it for a group of respondents or so. Also, survey results may be subject to maybe artificial. They don't measure social action, right? And they measure beliefs. They don't. We get what people say they're doing, but we don't really see them doing that. We have to trust that, and sometimes the responses may be artificial. If we ask people about attitudes that they've never thought about before the survey, we may get their first reaction to the question, and that may not be their true feelings or opinion about something had they had more time to think about it. And they may be weak on validity because of this artificiality. Sometimes we don't know if we really are getting the information that we are seeking because respondents may not really understand the question that they're being asked. So those are the drawbacks. But people tend to rely more on the pros of survey research, and that's why they are so common around us. So, where do you start on a survey? And this is the biggest point of this video. When you have to do a survey, right, you never start thinking about the questions that you're going to have in the survey. That is the biggest mistake you can do. The first step for designing a survey is thinking about what is the research question. What is it that we want to learn from respondents in general, right? So the objective has to be clear, right? Before we start thinking about what we're going to ask and how we're going to ask, we have to think about what do we want to learn from this questionnaire in general. And that is more than just what the questionnaire is going to ask, right? The objective, let's say we want to know this, how youth are engaged in a particular program, or we want to know how widespread is drinking alcohol in a particular high school, let's say. That is the objective of the survey, and that has to be clear before we start designing the questionnaire, right? Once we have the objective clear, then we can go into operationalizing the constructs that we want to capture, like drinking, what do we mean by often, all of these things. And then we can start building the questionnaire. But we always start with a research question that guides the objectives of the survey. That is before we start doing or working on the survey questionnaire. Now, some definitions that I would like to go over before we move into the next video. When we talk about respondent, we mean the person who is going to answer our survey questionnaire, is the person who provides data for the analysis by responding to a survey questionnaire. The questionnaire is an instrument designed to elicit information that will be useful for analysis. right? It is sort of the collection of all the survey items that we're going to have. Now, in that questionnaire, or these items can be open-ended, where the respondent is asked to provide his or her own answer to the question, usually in a text box where they can write whatever they want as their answer, or they can be closed-ended. In closed-ended questions or closed-ended items, the respondent is asked to select an answer from a list provided by the researcher. And one other term that we're going to be using is bias, right, in items specifically. And bias in items is a property that some questions may have that encourage respondents to answer in a particular way. They're like leading questions that are sort of elicit some type of response just because of the way they are constructed. So those are some definitions. We've discussed why survey methods are important, why they are useful, some of the drawbacks, and some definitions. But the most important point I wanted to make in this video is that it all begins with a research question. You have to be clear about what you want to learn before you embark on designing a questionnaire. In the next video, we'll talk about designing a questionnaire. See you then.